Stop imagining that construction always kills nature. That's a lie we've believed too long. China's desertification control is now doing the unthinkable, engineering that saves dying land. Picture a lake so buried in sand it almost vanished. Today, it breathes again. Or drones dropping trees on cliffs no human dares to climb. This isn't science fiction, it's happening right now. Before you scroll away, hit subscribe and click that bell. You really don't want to miss how tech is silently stealing the desert's victory. Many people instinctively believe that roads, walls, and dams always harm the wild. Concrete and steel, in the popular imagination, are enemies of the natural world, instruments of fragmentation, pollution, and destruction. But what if we flipped that idea on its head? What if the same materials that have paved over wetlands and channelized rivers could instead become tools for healing? In northern China, a little-known lake named Wuliangsuhai offers a powerful answer. Located in the arid expanse of Inner Mongolia, Wuliangsuhai was once a vibrant oasis, a crucial wetland along the Yellow River's journey. For decades, however, it was dying. Agricultural runoff, industrial waste, and relentless drifting sands from the encroaching Habqiu Desert choked its waters. The lake shrank, its clarity vanished, fish perished, and migratory birds stopped coming. By the early 2000s, many experts feared the lake was beyond saving a ghost of its former self, destined to become another patch of dry, salt-crusted earth. Then something unexpected happened. Engineers didn't just build things in the conventional sense. They didn't erect a fortress of dams or line the shores with sterile concrete. Instead, they designed infrastructure that worked with nature, not against it. The centerpiece of this quiet revolution was a lake wall road, not a typical highway, but a carefully engineered barrier that served multiple ecological functions. First, they stabilized the massive sand dunes on the lake's western edge using a combination of straw checkerboard barriers, drought-resistant shrubs, and controlled grading. These techniques, honed through decades of Chinese desertification control efforts, stopped the migrating dunes from burying the lake bed. Then came the road itself. Rather than cutting off the lake from its surrounding landscape, the new lake wall road was constructed to filter and guide seasonal runoff. Its design included permeable sections and vegetated slopes that trapped sediment and absorbed pollutants before water could re-enter the lake. The road didn't just stop sand, it helped water flow cleaner. As a result, the lake's oxygen levels improved, algae blooms subsided, and native aquatic plants began to recolonize the shallows. Fish returned, from carp to tench, and with them came great egrets, swans, and rare relict gulls. Today, Wuliangsuhai is once again a stopover point for hundreds of thousands of migratory birds along the East Asian Australasian flyway. This project proves a radical but simple truth. Concrete and steel don't have to be enemies of the earth. They can become tools for recovery. The key lies in intention and design. A conventional road would have accelerated erosion and polluted runoff. A conventional seawall would have severed the lake from its natural floodplains. But an ecological road built with bioengineering, sediment traps, and native vegetation becomes part of the solution. The same applies to dams with fish ladders, levees that recreate wetlands, and breakwaters that double as coral nurseries. Instead of tearing landscapes apart, smart designs put them back together. This isn't a fantasy or a feel-good slogan. It's already working. Across China, the principles applied at Wuliangsuhai are being replicated in other degraded lakes and deserts. The country's massive desertification control program has shifted from purely mechanical barriers to nature-based solutions that integrate infrastructure. And the results are measurable. Expanding grassland, rising water tables, and returning biodiversity. So, next time you see a bulldozer or a construction crew on the horizon, pause. Don't jump to outrage. Ask what they are building and how. Because that bulldozer might be regrading a dune to save a lake, not burying it. That concrete wall might be channeling clean water instead of poison. The machines that once symbolized conquest over nature can now be agents of restoration. Can humans ever truly live peacefully with a desert? That's a big question, one that has haunted civilizations from ancient Mesopotamia to the American Dust Bowl. The Taklamakan Desert in northwest China is called the Sea of Death for a reason. Stretching over 337,000 square kilometers, it is the world's second largest shifting sand desert. Its dunes tower up to 300 meters, and summer surface temperatures can reach 80 degrees Celsius. For centuries, it swallowed caravans, buried cities, and seemed impossible to tame. But China decided to stop fighting it and start understanding it. China's desertification control here took a humble, almost philosophical path. Instead of launching grand, expensive schemes to conquer the desert, scientists first did something simple. They listened. They studied wind patterns for years, mapping how sand moves seasonally. They learned that most erosion happens not from random gusts, but from prevailing winds that follow predictable corridors. With that knowledge, they found ways to slow erosion without killing the desert's soul. This is scientific governance in action policy based on observation, not ideology. It respects nature as a dynamic system rather than an enemy to be dominated. Money, however, was always tight. Large-scale irrigation or massive tree planting campaigns would have broken the budget. So local communities stepped in. They shared costs and labor through cooperative models that turned desert control into a shared responsibility. Together, they planted hardy, native shrubs like haloxylon amodendron plants that need almost no water but hold sand firmly with their roots. They built small, low-cost barriers, straw checkerboards, reed fences, and gravel strips. These simple structures break wind speed near the ground, allowing sand to settle rather than fly. Over time, something remarkable happened. The desert stopped expanding. Satellite images showed the creeping dune fronts stabilizing. Villages on the oasis margins became safer, no longer buried under weekly sandstorms. Wells stayed clear of silt. Crops like cotton and melons grew again on reclaimed farmland. Children could walk to school without goggles. The lesson is disarmingly simple. Deserts aren't enemies, they're neighbors. You just have to learn their language, the language of wind, sand, and water. Spring in Xinjiang sounds like a construction zone, but listen closer. Those roars come from machines nicknamed iron oxen. They are powerful bulldozers pushing sand, leveling dunes, and filling gullies. Because flat sand helps baby trees live. Without leveling, young roots dry out or snap. So these iron oxen work hard under the sun. China's desertification control in Hotan Prefecture has already healed over 6.7 million mu of dry land. That's roughly 480,000 hectares. And they're not stopping. By 2026, they plan to restore another 2.23 million mu. That's almost 150,000 more hectares. This isn't just planting trees. It's a whole system. Machines prep the ground. Workers plant drought-resistant saplings. Then nature takes over slowly. The green spreads. Sand stays put. Local families see dust storms fade. Air gets cleaner. This is afforestation on a massive scale. And the iron oxen? They're the unsung heroes of this quiet war against the desert. Imagine a steep mountain slope. Too dangerous for a worker to climb with a heavy tree. Now imagine a small drone lifting off, carrying a seedling gently. That's happening right now in Gansu province. Drone afforestation is changing the game. These flying machines zip across barren hills. They drop saplings exactly where roots can grip soil. They work 10 times faster than humans, and they're safer. No one slips or falls. China's desertification control now has wings. At a suburban park near Lanzhou, plant protection drones transport thousands of seedlings every day. They don't get tired. They don't need breaks. This speeds up ecological restoration like never before. Old methods took weeks for one hillside. Drones finish in hours. The result? Green spreads across places once written off as dead. Here's a fact that might surprise you. Global experts say China is now a living classroom for desertification control. One official from an international agency put it clearly. China is setting an example for all countries because their methods mix old wisdom with new tools. They use straw checkerboards, a simple invention from local farmers. They also use satellites and drones. China's desertification control respects tradition while chasing innovation. And they share everything. Training programs bring scientists from Africa and Central Asia to see how it's done. They watch workers build barriers. They learn which grasses hold sand best. They see how communities get involved. This isn't a secret, it's an open invitation. The planet has nearly 1 billion people at risk from desert expansion. China's message is blunt but hopeful. Land degradation can be reversed. You just need patience, science, and a little bit of humility. In the Tengger Desert, China's fourth largest sand sea, something unusual is happening. Thousands of residents in Zhongwei City are laying down rows of straw. They form checkerboard patterns across the dunes. Straw checkerboards look simple, but they work like magic. Each square stops wind. It traps moisture. It gives seeds a safe spot to sprout. China's desertification control here has built a 153-kilometer green barrier along the desert's edge. That's longer than many highways. And it protects the Yellow River, the nation's lifeblood. Drones even help carry the straw to hard-to-reach areas. Workers plant drought-resistant shrubs alongside the grids. This year alone, they aim to treat over 30,000 more hectares. So far, 146,000 hectares have turned from shifting sand to stable land. The Deputy Director of Natural Resources says they're just getting started. These tiny straw grids prove that big changes often start with small, smart steps. Leaders have pushed for this green shift for years. The message has been steady and urgent. Forests are scarce, ecosystems are fragile, and the cost inaction is measured in lost farmland, buried villages, and choking dust, storms that reach as far as Beijing and beyond. Massive projects like the 3 North Shelter Belt Forest Program, often called the Great Green Wall of China, have literally changed the map of the country. Stretching thousands of kilometers across 13 provinces, this decades-long initiative has planted billions of trees, restored grasslands, and stabilized migrating dunes. Now, China's desertification control has reached a historic milestone. According to official data and United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification reports, China became the first country worldwide to achieve zero net land degradation. Think about what that means. For every hectare of land that gets worse eroded, salinized, or turned to sand, another hectare gets better. They balance out. That balance has never happened before on a national scale. The old story, repeated for centuries across northern China, was sand advancing, people retreating. Farmers would watch dunes creep toward their doors, then abandon their homes and move. Now, it's the opposite. Greenery advancing, sand retreating. This shift didn't happen by accident. It came from decades of patient, often back-breaking work. Planting drought-resistant saplings by hand, building straw checkerboard barriers, digging canals, and learning from failures when early trees died. Scientists refined species selection. Communities adopted new grazing limits. Engineers designed windbreaks that actually work with desert winds, not against them. Deserts still exist. They are natural landscapes, after all. But they no longer rule the edges of farms and towns. The front lines have stabilized. Today, color returns to dry lands. Yellow becomes green. Once barren slopes now hold bushes and grasses.